folks, welcome on into the Crossing Swords podcast live at Sports City Pizza Pub located at 1407 Niagara Street in Buffalo. We're brought to you today, partnered alongside the Herd of Buffalo Network. Shout out everyone at the Herd of Buffalo Network. I am Gatesy here, joined to my right, your left, by the one, the only Mike Bunt. Bunty, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. It's always a fun time to talk Sabres hockey, and the playoffs are quickly approaching, so we have a lot to talk about tonight.
It's going to be a big show, and we're joined by some big personalities, mainly Don on the ones and twos, making sure the stream's looking good, adding some great insight tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Dressed out
Look at
like
this.
crazy
Look at this bad boy
right now. Look at that.
Thank you, John, my season ticket seats mate for this gift. Surprised me with it on Saturday. And then also the rubber bands he rolled it up with were like, do you remember the rubber bands? Like you took them off and they were in a shape of something.
Silly bands.
Yeah. So he gave me, there was two silly bands from like 2013 or 14 or something. One with the B with the sword, another with a hockey stick. So that was great. I'm going to nip this in the butt right now, folks. I'm sorry. No Mike Rizzo tonight.
Nope.
I saw him escape. He ran in, got some food, screamed at the kitchen. No, I'm just kidding. And then we'll have to spend some family time, but we're holding it down.
Well, holding it down. Speaking of holding it down, we got Rachel on the switcher, making sure things are looking good here. And speaking of looking good, gentlemen, Zach Metsa has been looking good in Buffalo. He got sent back down to Rochester. Ton of fanfare, but our voices were heard. Whether it was you in the 300 levels chanting, "We want Metsa," after a turnover last game, whether it's Mike Harrington writing articles saying Zach Metsa needs to be here, the Sabres listened, and they recalled number 73 today. Bunty, what are your thoughts after the Sabres recalled Zach Metsa kind of out of the blue, where you finally see Michael Kessering slotted in a lineup spot, only for Zach Metsa to get that recall?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have Zach Metsa up. He's been fantastic so far this year. I don't think he's the sole reason why the Sabres have struggled in recent games, but when you think about their record with him in the lineup versus when he's not in the lineup, there's obviously a noticeable difference. And if anything, I think it's a vibe check.
Yeah.
It's whether or not he is the difference is irrelevant, because the belief is that when he's not on the ice, that they're not as good of a team. And with some of the other guys that they're putting in his place, it does feel like there is a downgrade. Now we can break it down a little bit deeper of, is it him or is it the other players? What's the real thing going on? But from a vibe perspective, it's great to have him back.
It is truly a great thing, because you saw, the Sabres have been playing well. There's, multiple reasons we can get into the X and O's, but it feels like such like a magic in the bottle situation with this team where they got hot, they believed in themselves, everything seems to be going right. And somehow at the center of that was a defenseman, like a 5'8" defenseman playing, 10 to 12 minutes a night, putting up the most insane analytical numbers you've ever seen, that they break charts. That, the fact that this is the biggest gripe right now with the Sabres team and the direction they're going is who's going to be their sixth defenseman is the biggest champagne problems we could have ever imagined at this point in the season. Bunty, I kind of feel good that, that's such a hot point, is who's going to be the sixth defenseman for the Sabres.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, because it means that you have options. I think the problem that fans have with the whole situation is they don't like the current solution to that, because the Sabres went out of their way to create this issue at hand with Logan Stanley, Shen, and then obviously Timmins back healthy, and you have Kesselring who's been on the bench. So you have 4 or 5 guys that could be in that third pair.
Really,
this is the tough part when it comes down to it. Zach Metsa has been playing 10 minutes a night. That is not a lot of hockey.
No.
On your third pair, you want to have somebody to play at least 15 minutes a night. So the issue is, when he was playing, he wasn't getting a lot of ice time. It was forcing their top 4D to play a lot of minutes. They've had a stretch where they've had to play great just to get back in the playoff picture. Now they're obviously near the top of the East. But you don't want guys like Dahlin, Samuelson, Power, and Byram worn out in the games that actually matter. So you bring in a Stanley, who's an NHL veteran, has experience, can play more minutes a night, and you're hoping that's the solution. Well, then you put him out there, and it hasn't been a great chemistry fit early on.
No.
Shen you brought in for some physicality, but he looks old. He looks out of place. You want Timmins to step up because that's who you originally signed to be the third pair defenseman. But coming back from injury, he looks like the same guy we saw before the injury. And then you have the whole Kesselring issue of he was supposed to be the power pairing.
Yeah.
And Kesselring, with his injuries, hasn't even really been good enough
He's an afterthought.
to be on the ice. So fans have attached themselves to the 27-year-old rookie who has an amazing plus-minus. They don't allow goals when he's on the ice. But if Metsa was playing 15-plus minutes a game, would we still be talking like this about him, or would it be different? And we don't know because the Sabres don't give him that opportunity. So I would like to see him at least get that shot a couple games down the stretch so we can have a better idea of what this third pair should look like.
I agree, and it feels like Zach Metsa right now, like bringing him back up to Buffalo, feels like, you know, if like your TV's like not working, just kind of like just hit it, and it somehow magically starts working again. That's what Zach Metsa kind of feels like right now for the Sabres, where he puts up 10 minutes. Like, he's not doing anything crazy, but for somehow, some way, the Sabres team is better with him in the lineup. It's a great thing. Donnie, I know you're really, you know, a Metsa maniac. What are your thoughts on the Sabres bringing him back up to Buffalo? After all the fanfare, you were, you know, you've heard the chants in person of, you know, we want Metsa, we want Metsa, we want Metsa. What's it feel like to finally have him back here in Buffalo after, you know, just a few days away?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a Metsa maniac, but I will say, for whatever reason, the only pairing that I really thought Stanley looked good with was him, which is kind of interesting because it's like Jekyll and Hyde. You get Metsa, who's like 5'9", more of a speedy guy, young guy, and then you get Stanley, who's what, 6'6", and like this huge presence, ready to fight anybody. But that's how chemistry works. These guys might have balanced each other out this way. And really, I mean, you like Bunt said, this is a vibe check. Maybe it's a locker room check. Maybe it was Lindy kind of saying, like, listen, things were going great. I don't really want to mess with the dynamic of the locker room, even though they are familiar with guys like Kesselring that's been around. But they got to get used to Shen and Timmins. I mean, him coming back from his injury. I mean, listen, a broken leg, that's not just like a sprain or like that's a tough injury, especially as a hockey player to come back from and then just get thrown in the lineup this season, even if you have kind of been trying to stay in shape and everything like that. Just your stamina, your muscle, you're going to be a little weaker. So I think at the end of it, it's if it ain't broke, why did we change it in the first place? Again, kind of maybe the thought process was we'll get some other guys minutes so we can be better prepared, more depth for the playoffs. And if we're going to send someone down, Metz is our only option. But, yeah, I think after losing 3 games in a row, Lindy kind of said, you know, enough is enough. We're in a race not only to get first in our division, but first in the Eastern Conference. We're tied now. It's a 3-way tie in first with us, Carolina, and Tampa. We have 1 game on both of them. And then who's the girl? I have no idea. What's your name?
Liz.
Liz.
Welcome to the show.
Liz. She's just an audience member watching the show. Yeah. So we may never lose again now that Metz is back. I hope so, because we have a heavy race going on. I talked about it last show that if we got past this West Coast stretch, I would love our chances based on the schedule. I think we have – what do we have? Carolina is playing Columbus back-to-back nights. They're looking for a playoff spot. And then on top of that, we have – I think Tampa's playing Montreal. These are teams we'd love to have beat each other up. If we could get Carolina to drop one of the Blue Jackets, get Montreal, who's been hot. They looked awesome last night against Carolina, and their goalie looked great. That's going to be huge. So if bringing Metsa back and we get a little bit of luck, can get us making sure we're winning as much as possible every game we can in the stretch, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because we've looked at the past week for the Sabres, and it feels like the world's falling down on them, that this is the worst time ever for the Buffalo Sabres. But they're 13-2-2 since the Olympic break, which I know you look back, they've had a great start. But you look at that, Bunty, they get the win Saturday against the Kraken. That game, I think, was just the perfect situation for the Sabres to kind of get over these demons of late of, you know, you go down 2-0 in this game, and they stay in it. They take advantage of their chances. You have, Rasmus Dahlin, a guy who has been very vocal of, this isn't good enough how the Sabres have been. He needs to be the guy to change that. He's taken some big penalties of late, but he shows up. He gets the Sabres on the board. Then you have Peyton Krebs elevated that top line. He gets a goal to tie it. Then, we saw overtime go the way it goes. Quinn automatic in the shootouts. Thompson gets the goal in the shootout, and UPL continues to shut the door. What does that win, for the Sabres mean, where they break a stretch where they were, 0-1-2, and now they get that win, and it feels like, I don't know if you feel the same way, Bunty. I feel a little bit more, relaxed and calm because I was starting to panic just a little bit with how the Sabres team was playing.
I think Saturday's win allowed people to have a breath of relief. To be honest, I do think there was things to be concerned about over the last 2 weeks. And I do believe that their record, continue drinking that, Gatesy. I do think that their record masks some concerns with this team. There is more concerns with this team than what the general feeling is amongst Sabres fans right now. We talked about it all year. They're an above-average finishing team, and they've had great goaltending for most of the season. But if you look at their actual, deeper numbers, they're a little bit above average with their expected goals for, and they're a little bit below average with their expected goals saved. Goals allowed compared to expected. But during this stretch, and I think you can go back to even the West Coast road trip, and maybe slightly before, the passing has been off. Some of their playmaking, it looks like at times they're not working as hard as they have been in the past. And I know people say, well, they've won games, but I think if you go from the Capitals, not the Capitals game, maybe the San Jose game or the Tampa game where everything went on, you saw some breakdowns in what they were doing. The Tampa Bay game, there's a stretch where they allow 6 out of 7 goals. And I know that's against the Lightning. They're crazy, but things are going to happen. But that should be a concern in itself. You allowed 6 goals in a 25-minute period of time. Then you play San Jose the next night, and you're turning over the puck and giving them free chances. Yes, you're winning those games, but you're giving away goals. Against Washington, you allow a goal with less than 2 minutes left in regulation to lose a game. Against Toronto, you're playing sloppy against an inferior team without their captain. In that game could have gone either way. You go on the West Coast, you get things working defensively, but then the Anaheim game, you're letting them walk through your defense repeatedly, and then you allow 3 power play goals. And I don't want to be Mr. Negative here, but if right now the expectations around Buffalo is this is a team that can make a run.
Yeah.
What they're doing the last 10 games is not a team that's going to make a run. It's a team that's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And I know people say, don't worry about it. The 05-06 team did the same thing, and it's normal for teams to have these spurts. That is correct. But what most people don't realize is outside of goaltending and finishing, the metrics show that this is an average team that just is elite in those 2 areas. They can't take any team for granted.
No, you can't.
And I'll say this. Seattle gave me a sigh of relief because they were able to come back, finish it off. Pat is right. I did have Ted's hot dogs today. I'm a fat ass right now. But it's one of those things where the Detroit game, they came out uninspired, and they got kicked in the teeth. And I think that's the thing that this team needed. I think they needed to go out against a desperate team and realize we can't just coast for victories. If we don't bring it on a nightly basis, any team in this league can beat us. And hopefully, after what happened against Seattle, they come out inspired a little bit more, because while people will say winning the division isn't the end-all be-all, if you want to make a playoff run, it is going to be an end-all be-all. Because you know what? If you're the 1 seed and you're playing Boston or the Islanders or Detroit or somebody like that, that's a hell of a lot easier series than being the 2 seed and playing Montreal. And then if you beat Montreal, guess who you're playing in the second round most likely? Tampa Bay. At least if you're the 1 seed in your division, Tampa and Montreal are going to have a brutal series against each other, and maybe you take on a team that's already a little bit tired up. But I know that's a lot of negativity, and we're the positivity podcast.
We are.
But I'm critical because the expectations have shifted over the last couple months from a team that should hopefully compete for a playoff spot to a team that will make the playoffs to a team that now is expected to win a playoff series. And if they don't clean up what they're doing, they're not going to win a playoff series.
Yeah, well, Bunty, can I turn your negativity into a positivity real quick?
Absolutely.
We hear all year just the comparisons and the similarities between this current Sabres team and the 05-06 Sabres team, whether it's been the 20 years since that, squad was around. Just it feels like every passing day, there's just more and more comparisons to this team. The 05-06 Sabres, at this time of their season last year, in mid-March, they went on a 1-7-1 run where they had to, take a little step back to find their game, find how they needed to play. This, little streak the Sabres run, which, again, this little streak, the Sabres were 0-1-2. Like that, I feel like a lot of people are talking like this was the end of the world for the Sabres. They got that win against Seattle. Feels like they're figuring out how they can play. They're getting loose again. Donnie, I know you're in the building for these home games. What's been the energy like, especially that Seattle game or just in general, when the Sabres are down, it feels like no matter what, that belief is there that the Sabres team is going to come back in some capacity and, make it a game, even if their starts have not been the best.
The belief is there in the building that, this team could come back from anything they've done a number of times. However, I'll say the rough starts that they've had lately, particularly against, Detroit, even last night, it's very different from the games we saw where they went down early on the 10-game winning stretch, whether we're talking December or January, because they'd sometimes get a bad goal, bad bounce, but they would come back with momentum. The way they've been losing these games, and even the way they won Saturday, is concerning to me, because my thing all season long is for success. When they're successful, is they control the neutral zone.
Yeah,
they have these long stretch passes. When they were on that 10-game winning streak, they were second in the NHL with most cross-ice passes per game completed. So when they spread the ice, they get these passes. When they're cycling, they're really turning teams around in the neutral zone. They're at their best. Listen, they dump in Chase when they're changing. But this is a team that really likes to carry the puck over the blue line and kind of do some drop passes, do some cycling again, and really control the puck. You just haven't gotten that the last couple games. I've kind of posed the question on Trainwreck today and stuff. Have teams figured them out? I'm going to have to watch some tape and see how they're playing them in the neutral zone, because it might just be that. It might just be that they've cracked the Sabres code, because, again, I said it today earlier, a win is a win is a win, but I just still the way they won it, they didn't look like the team that's been very successful before.
We got Pat.
I am a DJ, man. I'll crank up some tunes right now. But the building is always in it, though.
Yeah.
The building has been won over by the Sabres enough times. We've seen enough comeback wins. I said again, I sound like a broken record, but the 10-game win streak, I think 7 of those 10, we all went down. We didn't score the first goal in. And I was joking. I'm like, it's the best bet ever. Let the other team score a goal, put 50 on the money line, and you're rich. Hasn't been the case the last week. Like Bun, I'm concerned. It's really the wins matter, but what I really am looking forward for is tighter passing, better neutral zone puck possession, and then that'll make me feel good, and better deep play, because that's a lot. Lions been getting a lot of flack, and the word on the street. I haven't watched the rough press conference from earlier today. Did he name UPL as officially? Did he answer a question
I
on
think
that?
We'll see tomorrow in the pregame skate. I mean, today was just a practice for the Sabres.
So I'm like, I'm not sure. Are we pressing the button too early that this is UPL's net and Lion just didn't have a day off or was feeling under the weather? We don't know. That wasn't asked. That's why we need our guy Gatesy with the press pass in the room to ask these questions,
hard-hitting
get some
questions.
answers. Yeah. But I didn't blame Lion, honestly, for the first period play against Detroit. I thought the defense wasn't there. And when you look at how well we did in that streak, it wasn't just the goaltending. It was the defense as well in front of them. So the building will always be there. But we need the team to be there as well, tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I watch every game just, on TV, and just you can hear how different the energy is inside the KeyBank Center now. Like, you guys are both there basically every game. Like, that changes there, which is great. No turnovers at the blue line from Robert. Yeah, I mean, that's one of my biggest things. You have to win both blue line battles. Your O zone, keep pucks in. D zone, you have to get pucks out. We've seen the Sabres, really get penalized in the past couple weeks of not getting pucks out at their blue line. Whether that's Alex Tuck getting stripped with the puck going in the net a few seconds later. Bowen Byram had one against Seattle in a similar play.
I mean, turnovers and penalties.
Yeah, you can't.
It's been bad. And I know we could say, like, well, what's it normally compared to what it's been the last
Ducks
couple
game
weeks.
that was, you talked about that, the penalties killed us because every time we got momentum and we're matching their feet, we're in the box.
I mean, that brings up another.
They go 3 for 4.
Yeah, that brings up another point too. The penalty kill went from 3rd to 8th pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
yes,
and that's one of those things where the deeper metrics tell a story of the penalty kill really isn't as good as their overall numbers are this year. You look at them and you say 8th, and you're like, that's a pretty good penalty kill, but their actual chances allowed is much higher. It's much more average and pedestrian than what their actual penalty kill results are. And why has that been? Because their goaltending during the penalty kill has been amazing this year. Well, what's happened the last couple of weeks? There's a back-to-back shutouts. That was good. But Lyon has seen the save percentage drop from 915 to 910 in a period of a couple games. Lyon is struggling. Now, UPL is still playing some really good hockey right now, and I would change my mind over what I said a couple weeks ago. I think right now UPL deserves to get a little bit more time in the net compared to Lyon because, quite frankly, Lyon has had a little bit of a drop-off. Now, that doesn't mean I'm all in on UPL being the starter going forward, but this is always going to be who is playing better at the moment type situation. Right now it's UPL.
And we've seen, the Sabres goaltending all year of, some guy catches fire, the other one. And when a goaltender has their back against the wall and it feels like they're on the outs, they play their best hockey. And it kind of feels like a who's not situation in net for the Sabres. So let's get into Cellino Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, Electric. Who's hot and who's not? So, Donnie, I'll start with you. Your who's hot and who's not for the Sabres right now.
My who's hot? I'm saying Payne Krebs. I mean, he's had a couple good games. He scored last night, which was huge. And we saw today at practice, he's back on the first line. By the way, the lines that were released today, I loved. I loved with Carrick and Metsa being bumped up to the third line. I think Greenway, I mean, that's a loud line right there, like especially at the third spot. Big fan of that. But he's been listen, this guy, there's been so many times, why is he on the first line? Why, what is this doing? I think he brings a lot. I'm going to stand on business. I said it before. I really think Krebs is a good workhorse for that line, is where you get him grinding in the corners and you kind of get Tage in a playmaker ability, floating around, looking for a turnover, looking for an outlet pass. So Payne Krebs, that's my hot. I think he's gearing up. He hasn't been the empty net assassin. He was about a month or two ago, but that goal was huge yesterday, and he's looked good, and he's being rewarded for it. My who's not is whoever's responsible for the beer saver, because it's about to be March 31st, and there's no beer saver. I was told March. Listen, I'm a season ticket holder. I was told I would be able to get a beer saver in March. Yeah, and March has come and went, and there's no beer saver. And listen, again, season ticket holder, I don't have one. I know people that don't even go to games that have gotten them because people were stacking up on a bunch of them to bring them home, and that's probably why they ran out. It might have been the situation where we've seen with the guy taking towels and T-shirts, stuffing them in his shirt. So this is my official call to Sabres management. Game 1 of the playoffs, give every season ticket holder in the crowd
every seat. You get a towel and a beer saver.
Yeah, we need them back. Even if put soda in it. How funny would it be to see little kids chugging Pepsi out of or whatever. I don't know if the Pepsi or Coke is a sponsor. Whatever it is, some kind of cola out of the beer saver. So that's my who's not. It's frustrating. This was a thing that was released in November and kind of turn the season around. We joke about.
Maybe that's why they haven't brought it back yet. They don't want to reverse it back by having the beer saver back.
But imagine a beer saver salute in the first playoff game.
Maybe you bring it back first playoff game, and that's what they need to make a cup run.
Yeah,
better days with beer swords.
You're losing the first
sabers.
period. They drop them all from the ceiling. everyone gets their beer saver.
I don't know. Side note, I think we're stuck with, and this is, I like it. I think we're stuck with Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. I don't know if you saw. Shout out Matt Beauvais. He had a cool little interview with Doan and those guys about how they. It was funny. Thompson, Doan, and Benson all were like, "We need Money for Nothing," like as their song. So that's fun. So. Yeah, get the beer saver and Money for Nothing at Puck Drop, and I'll be a happy man.
Definitely, Bob. Good to see you in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I think this next 8 games will be a big kind of look ahead for the Sabres. It's going to be something where, I think we're going to see them kind of get ready, get right, and, just be ready for a longer-term run. Bunty, who's hot and who's not for you right now?
So I love Peyton Krebs' pick. That would have been probably my first one, but I got a really good number 2 option for who's hot, and one of the key players on this team going into the season, one of the youngest players on the team outside of whenever Helenas is up, and that's Zach Benson. Zach Benson has taken his game to another level over the last couple weeks or so. You look at his last 6 games, I believe he has 7 points, 3 goals, and is a +3 overall. Now, he did have 1 game against Detroit, which was a -3, so we'll just forget that game for this sake.
Yeah.
But overall, Benson has been noticeable on the ice. And then for my who's not, this one actually kind of annoys me a lot.
Oh.
Do you have a guess?
I might have saw the picture, but it would be my guess as well. This guy is someone, Bunty and I, we were talking about all off season as the key to the Sabres team. And right now he's been I feel like one of the biggest detriments.
He's been on the ice, but you wouldn't know it based on his production, and that's Josh Norris. Where has he been? He's been a ghost. This guy's supposed to be one of the most talented players on the team. He is sitting at a +4, so I can't complain about everything, but I believe he has something like 2 points in the last 11 games. How is a guy that for his career averages 30 goals per 82 games played go through an 11-game stretch with 2 points on one of the highest scoring teams in the NHL? It's concerning to me because if he's on, this Sabres team could be dangerous. But he's on a third line. He's been paired with some lower line players of late, but still talent, and he's just not carrying anybody. And that, to me, is a little concerning. I thought Norris would be a guy that he could elevate the play of guys around him. And right now, it's not happening. And if the Sabres want to make a run, he's going to have to figure things out before the playoffs.
And he was I don't remember the Seattle game, but against Detroit, he was on their first line power play. It was an interesting I don't know if you guys remember that. It was an interesting move by Ruff. It was Norris, Quinn, Tage, and then Norris was actually at the top with Darlene as the D, and then dropped down into that 1-3-1 I talk about, where the guy, there's someone in the corner that then shifts to the front of the net. He had his chances. I agree with that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a little bit all over the place for Norris. He was a 35 goal scorer at his peak, and nowhere near done with this young team. They're just getting started. But Tuck will be here for next season at least. Helenas, Kulik, Mirka waiting in the wing to bolster his team and more. It's exciting to look down the road, but it's hard not to just be all in on what the Sabres team has right now. And
you got to focus on the now.
Oh, 100%.
Because you never know when opportunities will happen.
Waited 14 years for this.
Ottawa was so excited to end their drought last year, and now they're fighting to just make the playoffs this year. You never take it for granted, especially fans might not want to hear this. But when you have elite analytics and metrics, going into the future, you're probably going to be able to sustain some high level of success. The Sabres metrics don't point to expecting them to be atop the NHL standings on a year-to-year basis. I'm not saying that next year they're magically going to drop off, but if you looked at their advanced numbers, they look like a middle-of-the-pack playoff team. They're that tier 2 right now, and I feel like a lot of people are talking about them as a tier 1. I could see the Sabres making a run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I could see them winning a round or two or going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And there are a lot of similarities to that 05-06 team that broke out and went on a deep run to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. But I knew with that 05-06 team, talent-wise, their high-end ceiling with guys like Drury and Briere Connolly and some of the other guys, that they could make a run. I don't feel as confident that this team will make a run. They can, but I wouldn't necessarily predict it. Like I'm going into the playoffs hoping win your first round series, and then anything after that is just beyond my expectations.
Yeah, I think we'll get good look there. I mean, quick side tangent. Do you say the Sabres make a good run in the playoffs? Do they bring the slug back next year with all these comparisons to 05, 06? They bring the slug back for 26, 27?
If they bring the slug back next year after making a run in the playoffs this year, I'll just believe that we're living in a simulation and everything is repeating.
A Beck Malenstein slug would go very hard. But my who's hot, real quick, as we wrap up this segment. Right now, my who's hot is the power to the people. We heard for about a solid week that Zach Metsa needs to be back here in Buffalo. That, didn't matter if it were just fans in the 300s. It didn't matter if it was reporters in the locker room. I felt like everyone was just like, Zach Metsa needs to be here. He's earned his right to be with the Sabres. There's some sort of weird vibes going on. And somehow, some way, after just, a few days in Rochester, the Sabres call him back up with, no real rhyme or reason. So, good thing, I think, to the people getting Zach Metsa back. And my who's not right now is Alex Tuch's agent. I've been saying for a while, he was on a great run of when Tuch was out of the lineup, the Sabres were bad. And it was great for his agent because Tuch was going to get paid this offseason. And it feels like he still might be getting paid. But it feels like in his last 5 games, Alex Tuch only has 1 point. He has 1 goal. And it feels like, outside of his great work on the PK, it's hard to find him at times. He's not in that top power play unit for the Sabres. It feels like Tate is really carrying that first line. Peyton Krebs is like the workhorse right now on that top line. It feels like, as of where they are right now, we'll see what happens in the playoffs. That's what everyone's been saying. That, it looks like someone else might be filling that top spot, and Tuch's time in Buffalo could be done for the season, but we will see.
Too early to get the Robert Thomas Sabres jerseys?
You get a slug one, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be good there.
Speaking of which, look, this guy, Mats and Rub, it's a black and red slug. That actually kind of go hard.
Oh, yeah, I would love that.
Actually kind of go hard.
Someone to mock
If
that
it was
up.
black and red, yeah. So we need someone to make the mock black and red. Maybe I'll do it, but yeah.
Yeah. And a couple more comments here, too. Like, the kids are doing great. I mean, Austin's a rookie, which is insane.
And we're missing him right now.
Him being out of the lineup is definitely having an impact on them right now. Two-way, doesn't put up a lot of points yet at this point of his career, but obviously a dependable player. And if you watch the Sabres Embedded the other day when they were on their West Coast road trip, Lindy was talking about Ostlund and saying he does the right thing like 90% of the time. And then he's really like, well, honestly, it's probably like more like 100% of the time. But like that tells you how much confidence Lindy already has in Ostlund as a player. And if you remember before the Sabres got their original streak going, it was Ostlund getting sent down that Lindy kind of spoke out against. That kind of led to some of their original 10-game winning streak. So I'll say this, this is an interesting team because it's the guys like Ostlund and Benson that play a huge role in why this team is
it's the
as
young
good
kids
as they
pushing
are.
The pace.
It's young guys, it's young kids pushing the pace, but it's young kids in the right situations as opposed to previous years where it was young kids that were in the wrong roles at that point in their careers.
Yeah, I felt like they had to really carry the weight of the Sabres team. And we saw today in practice, Bunty, some new look lines with Noah Ostlund being out. He's still like at that day-to-day point. It's kind of uncertain what his, week's going to look. And it feels like, the Sabres are in a position where, in years past, they would have to rush back everyone to get back in the lineup to try to make a playoff push, to try to keep the good things going. But they have, it feels like a deep enough roster right now where, they don't have to rush guys back, whether that's a Noah Ostlund. We've seen Samuelson take time, Kesselring, Timmins. Everyone, has been able to, Alex Tuch just being sick, keeping out of the lineup, things of like that nature. But right now, we have new look lines for the Sabres where Jordan Greenway was on that Sabres fourth line, which looked, Beck Malenstein, Sam Carrick was a blast. Then defensively, you saw Logan Stanley paired up with Michael Kesselring finally, slotted into the Sabres lineup on that front in practice. Don, I know we talked about a bit on Trainwreck today, but, seeing those lines, seeing Kesselring back in, this was before the Metsa call-up, obviously, and seeing Greenway back, it feels like the Sabres team is getting very deep at the right time.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, listen, Lindy, I've said his strong point. This is why I don't blame him too much for the Metsa thing. His strong point this year is constantly kind of toying with these lines, keeping things fresh. keeping guys rotating in and out. Other than the D, you have Darlene and Samuelson, right? Like they're rock solid. He's never messed with that. But Peyton Krebs, he's kind of bounced up from the first line to the third line. You've seen Oslin jump up between the second and third. You've seen Tuck be, on the second as an anchor, then be paired with Tage. I think the strength of this team is the versatility of everyone, and anyone can be plugged in anywhere.
Yes.
You've even seen Doan on the power play before. I'm thinking off the top of my head on the 05-06 anniversary night, Doan had a great power play goal. He was on the first power play line. So I think that's kind of, what Lindy's doing, and he's also gonna vibe like with the hot hand. Kind of talked about that as in terms of the goalie. When certain players are doing the proper things on ice, they're looking great. He's going to reward them. So I love the versatility of this, that we don't have just the same guys locked in the same positions. But then on the flip side, the Metsa thing, might not have worked. You swing and a miss, but I think his batting percentage in that regard has been pretty great. And I'm very, very happy with Lindy's line matching this whole year. It's really been great to watch. And even live during a game, I saw not who was before we played Detroit, the first loss that started.
Are you talking about Boston or Anaheim?
Boston. I'm sorry. Yeah, Boston. He was really shuffling guys around because like that we were just not looking good. He's like, something needs to be done, and so he started really putting some interesting forward lines together for that. And honestly, I think that's to his strength. He's like, listen, the guys are sluggish, turnovers, nothing good is happening. You got to change something.
Yeah, and before I want to do a couple comments before I kick it to you, Bunty. Yeah, the Kessering Metsa third pair. We'll talk about some deep pair stuff in just a little bit. Magic Metsa back in the lineup. And Robert, wagon right now in Buffalo. The Plaza is just something I've been dreaming about so much. To be able to finally experience that as an adult will be incredible. And yes, that was Felony Bichet at Sports City Pizza Pub. And Josh, before I kick it back to Bunty, Lindy just seeing what we got and getting a new addition, use the Sabre system. Agree. Stanley getting in, Timmons getting back in. If an injury happens, you need these guys to be able to play the Sabre system. So getting them in now, I think is going to be great in the long term. So we'll see what happens at the playoff time. But Bunty, with these new lines, with Greenway back in, with Kessering there, Metsa being called up in UPL and the starters net for practice today. We'll see what it's like tomorrow. What are your takeaways from kind of this new look Sabres team?
Yeah, I like it. I'm a big fan of Greenway on the fourth line. I think we said it before the season that if Greenway's playing on your fourth line, you're going to have a pretty good fourth line.
Yeah, and I think Greenway too. A quote came out that he's like finally getting treatment that's actually helping him. He feels like
I hope
good.
I hope so.
I don't know if I made that up, but
if you have Greenway with Carrick and Malenstein, that's a very good fourth line. They're gonna be a presence on both sides of the ice. There's gonna be a lot of physicality, but there's also gonna be some skill. Malenstein is one of the funnest players to watch on the team because he has like 13 points, but he's capable of having the most impressive dangle goal that you'll ever see. Greenway has a little bit of ability on both sides of the ice as well, and then obviously we've seen Carrick with his shot so far this year. The only thing that kind of, and this is not an issue, but it kind of bothers me a little bit, is Krebs has been so good so far this year with Tage that you want to have Krebs with Tage, but he's really not a first line type guy. But then if you don't have him on the first line, now that you have Greenway back, that means you're probably you'd put Krebs probably back on your fourth, or maybe you could switch it up. And then you have Benson and Krebs kind of switching out on that line. So now with Greenway back, it does create you're going to have to find room for somebody to sit on the bench. And obviously right now it doesn't make a huge difference because Osland is out.
Yep.
But when Osland's healthy, you're going to have to probably go back to obviously one of those guys going down to the fourth line, one playing with Tage and Tuck. And there's no reason to even touch the Zucker line. That line has just been one of the Sabres' best lines all season. So I like it. Ultimately, I think this is what you want the forward group to look like overall, and hopefully they can kind of to make it work. And you're always going to have injuries, so this is probably the way it should be for now, and then you can always make some changes as needed. Defensively, I want it to be Metsa and Kesselring.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't have faith in Connor Timmins right now. I don't have faith in Logan Stanley, and I definitely don't have any faith in Shen at the current moment. Give me Metsa and Kesselring. Kesselring was brought on to be that person.
He was finding his game too right before.
And I didn't think he was noticeably awful. At least nobody was talking about him like he was awful prior to this healthy scratch period. And I know he hasn't been great, but and then Metsa teams don't score when he's on the ice. So
Crazy.
Let him play. And goaltending wise, I already told you guys earlier. Keep the 50-50 mix. Go with the hot goalie, and if one of them shows that they deserve it more, stick with them.
Donnie, do you want the 50-50 mix here? I know we talked a little earlier today on just, UPL could be getting a back-to-back here. Is that something you're looking at, or where are you at?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, people, listen, December 9th, right?
Yeah.
That's the date. You know what happened, though? It's when UPL got hurt for about 2 weeks and didn't play a single game. So, listen, Lyon kind of was part of the squad, and Ellis, because he had a couple good matches in there. Lyon was part of the team that turned this around. He came through when we needed him. I think that he's had a rough stretch. I also think, again, part of that is defensive blame. That first period, I thought he was completely hung out to dry. I also want to say, too, just as a guy that's played hockey, like when you have a turnover at your own blue line, when you're trying to get the puck out, and they come in fast on a goalie, it's very hard to get out of the net. So, there's some goals you might see on TV. You're like, I would have liked that. He should have had that one. But it's different from seeing a guy clean on a rush and seeing a guy turn around when all of a sudden you're standing up straight, watching him break it out, and then all of a sudden you got to get ready and you're not as far out as you want to be. Don't want to make excuses, but I've seen UPL, that's just goaltending. You would know that as well, Gatesy. I like the split. I think it's worked. I think it's when we've been at our best. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I believe in Lyon. I think he has great fundamentals. When he's at his best, he has really good rebound control, where he loves kicking a puck to the corner, blocking it to the corner. The UPL strength is different. He's got a really flashy glove. So I'm all for the split. I think Lyon's just had some bad games, but I'm not out on the guy at all.
Yeah, it feels like UPL has the higher ceiling, but Lyon has that higher floor of who's in net. So it's going to be an interesting decision what Lindy Ruff's going to do in these final 8 games. And, it's going to be a tough decision at that. But you know what isn't a tough decision is going to the Totally Buffalo store to pick up your Buffalo hockey merch as this Buffalo Hockey Sabres go on a big playoff push trying to end the 14-year playoff drought. So as I get dressed here, Bunty, I want to get us talking about the forecast. You talked briefly of your ideal, situation of your bottom pairing defenseman for the Sabres, but if the playoffs started tonight, who is, your 5-6 defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, Metsa Kesselring. That's what I'm going with. I just, like I said a moment ago, I know that they brought in Logan Stanley for increased physicality to play playoff-style games. He just seems out of place with this current roster. He's 6'7". He looks slow at times. His style of play does not seem to fit the tempo of what they're trying to do. Call me new school, but I'd rather have guys that fit the team strategy than try to fit what you think is playoff hockey. Go out the way you want. Go out playing to your strengths, not trying to be something that you're not. And I feel like when Stanley's out there, no offense to the guy, he's a good hockey player. I feel like it's the Sabres trying to be something that they're not. And I don't like that. Be who you are. Be what got you to this point. And this has always been my biggest gripe, and I know that's never going to change. Why does playoff hockey have to be so much different than regular season hockey? Call it the same way. It's the same game, and then you shouldn't need to change things. Like, the reason it changes is because the refs call the game differently. And if that's why you're bringing a guy like Stanley in, because you know you have to do things differently, well, then you're going away from what got you the success in the first place.
Yeah. Donnie, what's your playoff start today? Who's your 5-6 pairing on defense for the Sabres?
Well, I mean, you're going to hate hearing this, Bunt, but I'm actually going Stanley Metsa. I think Metsa has brought out the best sides of Stanley. And the more I think about it, watching now, I'll say this. Stanley has had one good game, maybe 1 or 2 mediocre games, and 3 rough games. He's had some tough penalties I don't like. Now, here's the thing, though. I don't hate penalties automatically. If it prevents a goal, if you're going to say they're going to score a goal here or we're going to give them 2 minutes on the kill, I'll take 2 minutes on the kill and give ourselves a chance to kill it off. The reason I like Stanley isn't just for the physical player, the fighting, is he's a big body, and I think blocking shots is huge in the playoffs. I really think that if you look at the success Sabres had in past teams and a lot of other past teams we had, Jay McKee, biggest example, wore that extra shin pad, a 6'4" guy that he would block like 12 shots a game. I mean, that is something we're going to need. You saw in the film room video the Buffalo Sabres Twitter posted that Lindy loved, guys selling out and blocking shots. So I'm looking for Stanley to do that, and it kind of balances out Mets in a way where he's just a smaller guy. Kesselring, I just haven't honestly, I don't even see a ton of difference between the two of them. Other than maybe Stanley's a little bigger. Kesselring, I just don't.
It's a little skinnier.
He's a little skinnier, and he's a little more of a rat, which you might want. But I haven't seen what I like out of Kesselring. I like Stanley. Here's the thing I like. When Stanley got traded and was watching from the press box at Tampa game, he was like, I want to be there. I want to be on the ice. I like a guy that wants to be there. Has he been the greatest? No, but I think he's going to settle into the system. I think Ruff is going to find a way to use him the best he can. And I think that third pairing where he can kind of let Metsa be the speedster chasing guys in the corner, and he can be the force in front of the net, blocking shots, pushing guys out of the way, clearing the net. That'll be the way to do it. I like the trade. I'm going to stand by it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page, Don. And, Stanley brings something to the lineup where, he's finding that, fighting is kind of a strong suit for him. And, since the Olympic break, the Sabres had 5 games in which they've had a fight. They're 5-0 in those games. So if we're looking for the Sabres to rattle off wins, it's going to happen with their gloves on the ice because it feels like, they kind of rally around those situations. You saw, Stanley getting one in just the recent game. Like that kind of helps the Sabres team somehow lock into a game and get that energy. And if the playoffs started today, I'd ideally want Kesselring there, but he hasn't played in 38 years, so he might need a couple of games to get right. So that's why I want to see him back in the lineup tomorrow against the Islanders. Just get some games under his belt because the same reason you're giving Stanley, you're giving Timmins, you're giving Shen games is to get them ready. Michael Kesselring also deserves that same, runway, and he is going to be, I think, a big part of the Sabres team. Ideally, my dream is to have him and Metsa as that third pairing or, Kesselring, Stanley, whatever you want to do. I think Kesselring is a part of that. I think he's shown as the season's gone on, he's gotten more healthy, that he can, be a big part of the Sabres team moving forward. So we will see what this dream, 5-6 looks like for Lindy Ruff. I think the great thing is there's no one right answer, and we're going to see that kind of change throughout the season. And we're seeing, the lineup change a little bit for the Sabres. But, as the drought is so nearing the end, Bunty, something we think about, we've seen a lot of players come and go through the drought for the Buffalo Sabres. I want you and Donnie to blind rank these 5 drought players on how likely you would want them on the Sabres team, how much you'd want them here in Buffalo right now. So you guys can figure out between the two of you, the comments at home, where are you going to blind rank them as well. But the first
is this like a 1 to 10?
One is you want them on the team right now. 5 is send
1 to 5.
Send them to Mars.
Okay, I thought it was 5.
So the lower the number, the better.
Yeah, so 1 is you want them on the team right now. First player here, Nathan Gerbe.
5. I don't ever need to see Nathan Gerbe ever again.
3.
3?
I'll say 3. He had a little bit of Briere in him. He was a small guy. I think he was surrounded by not a lot of talented guys, which you might say someone that's really, a stud shouldn't need that. But he was. I think he was kind of a victim of some bad teams. He was great at BC.
We got a 4 here from A.A. Barber.
I'll just say this. Nathan Gerby was the guy that fans were really excited about because we love these short players that defy odds. But he was nothing at the NHL
But
level.
Think of a forecheck with him and Benson on a rush. Like, you couldn't see him. They'd be hidden.
Here's the thing. Like, a guy like Benson, like we talk like he's small, but like he's still what, like 5'10"?
Was
like,
Benson named on Law and Order SVU like Nathan Gerby was?
Nathan Gerby was unreal in college. Unreal college player. Just kind of the example of your college is a far cry from what the NHL is.
So you got 5. You got, what, 3?
3.
Next guy, Jason Pominville. You can either go early drought or middle drought for Jason Pominville.
Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first. I'll go 5.
5?
When he came back, he just wasn't the same. Maybe my view is tainted because I had
3 and 5.
the rosy glasses of when his first stint. But I think like he came back, there was this expectation that things were going to turn around, and it just didn't happen, and he kind of looked washed.
We got the best 29 on your chest as well right now too in the organization.
Yeah. Currently. Yeah.
So this is about who we would want on the current team.
Yes, from their whenever they were in the drought era.
And yes, the second period in Buffalo for Pominville was obviously forgettable because of the team he joined. I'm going 1 for Pominville.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, he was early drought. He was still in his prime.
I'm talking this guy was a leader. He's a former captain of the team. Scored one of the iconic goals in the history of the franchise. Even if he's not the young Jason Pominville who's getting you 25 goals, he's bringing you playoff experience. He's getting you a veteran leadership, and he's going to do the right plays on the ice. That to me, that's the number one. That's why Jason Zucker is a guy that went from being an afterthought free agent signing to now you look at Jason Zucker and you're like, what would the Sabres really be without Jason Zucker? I don't think they'd be even close to where they are.
I agree there. Number 3 here, Rasmus Ristolainen added the Sabres decor. There was rumors he could be traded here this year, but prime Risto, maybe before he checked himself into the boards. Where would you have him here? You have 1 and 3 done?
It's between. No, I have 1 and 5. Kirby was a 5. So this is. So I have to go 2 to 4.
2 to 4, yes.
150,000. I don't want to.
So 4.
Yeah. No chance. You said
you can't move him after.
You just said Rasmus, right? Rasmus Ristolainen. Yeah. I wish I didn't have Gerby at 5 because Rasmus Ristolainen I never need to see play hockey ever again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have 4 left. He's my lowest ranking. I actually, I actually feel pretty good about that. Yeah, I mean, he's an elusive player. He's kind of an enigma. His years with the Sabres were bad. Expectations were high. He had a super long tenure on the team. One that's almost surprising how long he was actually stuck it out in the Drought Sabres for, and then didn't. I wish we could get prime Derek Roy back. I bet Chippewa does too.
A lot more success.
There'd be less places closing down there. So yeah, I'm gonna give a 4 for Ristolainen.
I like that. Our 4th one here, John Scott on the Sabres 4th line. Could you imagine him on the Sabres team, Bunty?
I mean,
you guys are very, very generous.
I guess I'm just showing how much I have disdain for the drought level.
There's not a lot of names that I could pull happy memories from.
I mean, John Scott would be even further down than Ristolainen. So, but I guess I have to put him number 3 because of how I
think it'd be fun. Him and Beck Mallenstein.
Well, former All-Star John Scott,
All-Star MVP.
All-Star MVP.
Yes.
So let's put respect on his name.
Yeah.
Also the same name as a local sports director. So
that bumps him up a spot.
So, but yeah, 3 of the 4 guys you picked could all be 5s.
I mean, I only have 1 and 2 left, so I'm going to put him at 2. That being said, I don't hate it. My only regret would maybe be that I could flip him and Gerby. Again, he wasn't a bad player. He was a gritty player, and the team right now that we have, looking at our 4th line, I could easily see him getting some minutes in there. Yeah, with Mallenstein. And the question is, who are you going to get rid of? Not Carrick or Greenway. But Greenway also been struggling with injuries all year. So I mean, he'd be nice to have. Again, once you get to the playoffs, an NHL team, you can have like 40. You dress 20,
Yeah.
but you can have like 40 guys at option to play. So yeah, I'd take him at number 2. You don't hate it.
And you guys got 2 top spots left. That works well because our last one here is Ryan Miller. So a good guy to round out your list, get some solid goaltending done.
Well,
Bunty,
all I have is number 2, but if I didn't already have Palmerville number 1.
Well, UPL's elite, so Ryan Miller be his backup.
Okay. The elite stuff, let's calm down. Ryan Miller would start over UPL 100 out of 100 times. Ryan Miller is one of the most accomplished American goaltenders in the history of.
Well, 05-06, Marty Baron was getting calls to get in the crease at some point.
Well, Marty Baron was also a first-round pick goaltender who was very good in his own right. Like it's funny. Like you look at that team, both of those goalies, I would say, are better than the 2 goalies that we have right now in Buffalo.
Marty Baron, this is rare for a goalie. First NHL game, 18 years old.
Yeah,
wearing the 00.
At one
That's
point,
the game. They made it illegal after that. He's the only player in NHL history to ever wear 00.
The Sabres used to be like goaltender, like they would just get goalies all over the place. Like you had Hasek, they would draft guys in the first round like Baron and Mika Nornan, and then God, there's so many other goalies I could name back in the day too. Dwayne Rollison, just random guys, and then obviously Miller. But yeah, Miller would be the top guy you'd take from the drought years.
Yeah.
I'm glad I left number 1 there because he would. That is I'd say I like a lot of my blind rankings, but that one, yeah, I think I really got. I mean, you said it all. I'm sorry, Bun. That he's. I mean, he was arguably like you. We have fond memories of Hasek, but the teams that Hasek, that was Hasek stealing a lot of games. I'd say the best Sabres game. The only time we ever won a President's Trophy was him in the pipes. Michigan State legend. Fortunately, we let him go to. He's still in a management role at San Jose, right?
I believe so.
So. I mean, screw playing. I'd love to get him back in the building if possible. On top of that, but yeah, there's number 1 with the bullet.
There are a couple other guys out from the drought that I would love on the Sabres. I would love the Ryan O'Reilly,
Dominic Cahoon.
Yeah, for all of
Anders
his going.
Bjork.
Yeah, not names like that. Give me Ryan O'Reilly from the drought.
Taylor Hall, second liner on the Canes right now.
Give me Sam Reinhart. And then I'm sure there's a couple other guys you could go to, but I'm not going to say
Lawrence
I'm
Pilot.
not going to talk about Jack Eichel or Lawrence Pilot or random
guys. I went down a rabbit hole. Like there's a lot of names I bounced around, but that's a good list. I mean, it's fun that we see the drought coming to a close, that we can look back on these years and like, I can't believe like we used to think like, oh, maybe this team could like sneak in if they do it, but yeah, it's been.
So I have a question. So Miller counts as a drought guy because he was continuous. So Pat Coletta, does he count as a drought guy?
If he was playing in the 2011, 2012 season.
Yeah. So I think that was his last. I think he played one more season after that. He had a very short NHL career, but he was on the 06-07 team, I think, right? No, 07-08 after that.
Yeah.
The thing about the Sabres drought, especially when you compare it to the Bills drought, like you just mentioned, like there were some years where you thought maybe they could battle through. The Sabres during the drought years, outside of the 91-point year, like they never really even got close for most of it. Like
outside of November, they weren't even.
Yeah, like they didn't even sniff the playoffs in 95% of the season. That's why it feels like a generation of hockey just didn't exist. Like you bring up guys from like 2015 or 2017 or 2019. Like some of these guys, I don't even remember who they are. Like you'd have to tell me how many games they played on the Sabres.
Also, too, once the tank was on, I mean, I was in college at the time, and I just kind of checked out. I'm like, I got girls to chase and beers to drink. Like instead of watching my childhood team that's breaking my heart tank and everyone on the radio cheered on and in the building. Like, so I mean, I totally withdrew from that, but I love this question.
Mm-hmm.
Should we?
Yeah.
Would you rather Prime Miller or Prime Hasek on today's team?
This is an easy one. Prime Hasek. Prime Hasek might be, arguably is the best goaltender in the history of the sport.
The only thing I'll say is the sport today is very different than prime Hasek years. Even at the end of his career in Detroit, he, when the game was changing around him, he
the game is different, but like you're assuming like they would have like obviously he wouldn't be like a 50-something-year-old man. He would have played through the era. Prime Hasek was something like we'd never seen before.
It was fun too.
Like the creation of the butterfly, like it was revolutionary. Like he wasn't just winning Vezinas; he was winning MVPs. Miller, like
gold medals.
Like prime Hasek, you look at Hasek and you're like, you compare him to like Patrick Waugh, Marty Brodeur, and like that's what a lot of people would say is like the top three outside of like going back like several decades to like the old days. Miller is like one of those where like maybe one of the top three American goalies of all time. Borderline, like, will he get some Hall of Fame consideration? He probably won't make it, but he might get some votes.
Sabres Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Got the jersey
obviously
retired.
Sabres Hall of Fame, but like Hasek is a no doubt one of the best of all time. A gold medal, 2 Stanley Cups. I know the one he was the backup for, but without him, the 90 Sabres are not even memorable.
They don't make the playoffs.
He literally carried a team to like a Stanley Cup Finals. So I'm going prime Hasek all day.
Well, does Hasek wear like the shooter's helmet in this era?
Yeah, does he have to? Because that's the thing. They might make him.
I'm only taking him if he wears the shooter helmet. I think that.
Well, I was saying that I think in the modern era they might not allow him to wear that helmet. Like with the, I'm not kidding. Like with neck injuries and everything.
Not a chance.
And I will say this. I don't know if there's a guy, maybe Brodeur, but that would be more psyched with the goalie interference rules. Because, I mean, I remember him letting in a bad goal, and his teammates talked. He would do this in practice. He'd let in a goal and think it wasn't fair, break his stick over the net and throw it in the stands.
That's insanity. By the way, I went through like a YouTube I went on YouTube the other night. I was trying to think of a fancy way of wording it, but I got into like the Sabres fights in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Hasek was involved in one of them where like he didn't really do anything. But, oh my goodness, Steve Shields.
Yeah, he dropped
for being a Sabres backup.
With Garth Snow.
He was in fights like every other.
The one with the Canucks, the one with Garth Snow. No, he was there. Yeah, and people too forget Steve Shields. Like he's a forgettable name, but I think '99 Hasek went down, and it was either the first or the second series, and he won two games for the Sabres because consistently Hasek had these like groin injuries because he was he was an acrobat, so he's constantly pulling his groin. But yeah, the thing I'm interested in is would Hasek's there's a race to the puck just inside our blue line. I'm just gonna throw my body at the guy's legs. Does that fly in today's NHL? If you're like, yeah, he's going for the puck, but still, like, you guys remember, he would just take people out at the knees.
Hasek would just fly out of the crease, go all the way to the boards to get a puck, and then suddenly he's getting checked by people. That's how the Vancouver one all started back then. But yeah, a lot of that stuff would not fly in today's NHL. Like the stuff that happened pre-strike, like 04-05 strike, it was just a totally different game. And thank God they made the changes because the neutral zone trap and all the stuff that happened before then, it was destroying the game. And now it's so much more fun than what it was at that point. Outside of the physicality and the fights, that's the only part pre-04-05 strike that I miss is you used to see craziness. You would see brawls. And now, like, the Tampa game is obviously so much fun, but, like, you go back to 90 Sabres, like, you could look up brawls, like 4 out of, 5 seasons with that group. So,
yeah, it's truly, like, just a different time of NHL hockey, Sabres hockey. It's just been, the run. It's the past couple months, it's hard not to look back on the history of where the Sabres have been, but also where this team is going. They have 8 games left in the regular season. They play the Islanders tomorrow. They have, a fun stretch ahead before this postseason. Any kind of final thoughts on this little run here for the Sabres in these 8 games? What you want to see, Bunty? What you're expecting to see? And, how much weight is going to be lifted off your shoulders once, that X is next to their name in the standings and the drought can be, officially put to rest and we don't have to worry as much anymore.
Yeah, what I want to see a team that is playing clean, fundamental hockey, that is putting it all out there and not inconsistent results game by game. I know you're not going to have your A game every night. You're not going to have your B game, your C game every night. But I want to see the team having objectives in mind and trying to accomplish those. I don't want to see them getting outworked by teams.
Yeah.
Your work ethic right now is going to determine your work ethic come playoff time. You can't just suddenly put a switch on game one of the playoffs and hope that's how you're going to be going forward. You need to find that switch before the playoffs begin. And I don't want this team coasting going in. I want them to figure it out. I know the 05-06 team 20 years ago had a bad streak before the playoffs, and they found it, and that can happen. I don't want to count on that happening. I don't want to depend on that happening. I need to know what the final D pair is a couple games left in the season. I don't want to be fiddling with all this for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. I need to know what they're going to do. And I guess the final thing I would say is we know, as I said earlier, that this is a good finishing team, and it's a team that's had good goaltending. I need them to continue to be aggressive offensively and generate chances. I know that people are talking about them playing river hockey and how they're high event and they can't play the slow down game. I don't want the Sabres to feel like they have to play a slow down game just because people are saying they can't do it. Don't play a style because people are saying you can't play that style. Do whatever you can do to get victories. And don't worry about what your opponents are saying. Don't worry about what playoff hockey is about. Do what you need to do. The 05-06 team, the 06-07 team, they were not the most physical teams. Both of them went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Both of them would have had chances of winning Stanley Cups those years. Do what's gotten you to this point.
100%. Donnie, any final thoughts here?
Yeah. What we're going to need is I'm going to segue real quick. We talked about the 05-06 coming out of the lockout, the change of rules. Everyone always talks about the holding and interference things being lifted, right, where you couldn't hold guys against the board. No, it's the most kind of overlooked rule change. The two-line pass. Now, if you don't remember, folks, you couldn't pass from your own D zone past the red line of neutral ice. That was a real thing. They opened that up. It opened the ice up. That's what the Sabres need to do. They play to their strengths, like Bunt said. Play your game. Their game is stretch passes, opening the ice up, crisp passes, controlling the neutral zone, finding guys to cycle through that neutral zone, skating the puck in. We're not a team that is going to beat you up in the corners. We're going to get it in the zone. We're going to possess the puck. We're going to tire you down because we're faster than you. And then we're going to score once you're fast after getting pucks to the net. So that's what it's all about. The two-line pass is gone. It's been gone for a decade. And this team is, the best example of why hockey is
There's
awesome.
Sabres fans watching this, Donnie, that don't even know what a two-line pass is.
That's what I'm saying. If people didn't remember. Yeah,
legend.
Yeah, that's I would say everyone always talks about the fighting, the hits, the head rules, the interference, the holding, but no one remembers that and the tag back offsides. That also wasn't a thing pre 05-06.
Yeah, the touch puck icing.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of crazy rules from that day. And then like you said, the extended blue line. I like the post here. If it wasn't for the lockout, we never would have had the 05-06 Sabres. The 05-06 Sabres were a product of so many lucky things going their way. The NHL strike was the best thing that ever happened for the Buffalo Sabres franchise because they changed all the rules to make it entertaining. And it just so happened the Sabres had all the players to benefit from those rule changes. And because of it, they had the extra year in the minors to work on it while everybody else was across the world playing in their different international leagues. 05-06, it couldn't have happened without all of the craziness that happened in the NHL the year or two before it.
Yeah, I mean, and just look at the craziness of this NHL season with, players going back to the Olympics and everything there. Last final comments here as before we wrap things up. Yeah, the Stanley Metsa pairing, if it ended now, that's feels like what they'll go with. It's good to get Kessering in to get him up to speed. Timmins as well. Again, we got 8 games. That's, still a fair amount of games left in, this season if you,
I can live with Stanley if Metsa brings out the best in him.
Metsa brings out the best in everyone, just like you all bring out the best in me, bring out the best in this show. I want to give a big thanks to the near 2,000 people stopping in tonight to listen to us talk about the Buffalo Sabres on this warpath they've been on. Zach Metsa gets the call up today. We're seeing this Sabres team on, a three-game break after, a little bit shaky run, but they're finding their footing. This team, crazy enough to say, the drought, doesn't have many days left for the Sabres team. You get another win or two. can put it to rest. It's been, just a crazy year so far. So I want to give a big thank you to Bunty to my right, your left, Donnie on the ones and twos, Rachel behind the camera making things go very smoothly, and a big thank you again to everyone watching. Big thank you to the Herd of Buffalo Network, keeping the show on the air, making us look good, and giving us a platform to talk about this team on the run of basically my lifetime, something we've been waiting for the past 14 years, to see this team not only just, in contention to make the playoffs, in contention to, win the East, in contention just to be, the spotlight team in the National Hockey League. It is an incredible thing. So everyone in Buffalo and Western New York, even if you're not, enjoy this run the Sabres are on in this final 8 games, because we've waited so long for this moment to be here, and it's finally at this point. When tickets go, get your tickets, get down to the plaza, get to bars, get to Sports City Pizza Pub, where, even if the Sabres aren't playing every day is game day, they're part of the Saberhood Bar Network. Every Sabres game in this final 8 game run will be played here on all 7,000 of their TVs here, give or take 1 or 2. With the sound on, it is a great place to watch Sabres games. Any sporting event, it's a great place. So I've been Gatesy, Bunty on my right, Donnie on the ones, dude, Rachel on the camera. It's been a great time here. And again, thank you to everyone. We will see you all next week. Let's go Sabres.